Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Peplink podcast. I'm Adam, Agent Adam.
And I'm Joey. Welcome. Welcome to another episode. Adam, looking lovely as always.
You're looking just as good yourself.
Thanks.
This episode, we're really lucky to have a special guest join us. We have Captain Nik, who has sat on some yacht in the middle of the sea in Florida. Nik, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show, on the podcast.
So, obviously, please do introduce yourself and tell us exactly where you are.
So I'm on a super yacht, an undisclosed super yacht. I obviously can't tell you where I am. You know how that is, Agent. We can't always. If I told you, I'd probably had to kill you. But I'm in Florida on one of these fancy big white yachts, taking care of Peplink business. We actually just deployed some HD1 domes and expanded an SDX Pro system as well, making sure that all 3 Starlinks are working as they should. And yeah.
That's really good. Well, we've got quite a few things to discuss on this podcast. I'm hoping you can stick around for the whole podcast and give your insight to all things Peplink with us. And shall we jump straight in, Joey?
Yes, let's get into it.
Take it away, Nik. Where did you use Peplink?
Where did I use Peplink? Where don't I use Peplink? We use Peplink anywhere. So obviously we do primary marine deployments. So where we find Peplink to be the key to success is multiple veins, right? It's the possibility of blending VSATs, Starlink, shore Wi-Fi, cellular connections, 5G, and all of the above, all together using SpeedFusion to connect unbreakable connectivity, right? And over the past 10 years, I've been using Peplink to deploy these solutions, and each year goes by with new features that just makes it easier and better, and just overall a nicer solution to work with. Yeah.
So, what are your go-to Peplink products? What do you really like using in the marine space?
I think our preference is always the HD1 domes is a massive favor of us, because we don't have to pull long antennas. In the past we used to pull massive big, coaxial cables, LMR 400 and 600, big copper cables that are difficult to get to, and obviously the longer cables we run, the more cable loss we're going to get. So that's a big favor of ours. And obviously with the introduction of Synergy mode, that product, completely transformed how we can make the web interface look. So we typically pair like an HD1 dome or HD2, the Duo ones, with an SDX Pro, or Balance 580 or Balance 780, or even the 380s as well, all depending on how much van we need on that particular vessel. Yeah.
And you've already spoken that you use VSAT and technologies like that. I suspect that Starlink's probably been a massive game changer for you.
Huge. I mean, it's mean that we've gone from having, very little bandwidth to, quite literally broadband on the open seas. We can sit and stream 4K in the middle of the Pacific or the Atlantic on a crossing. But it also now means that people can live on board pretty much all year round. We have owners now that their primary residence is now their super yacht or their super yachts, multiple, because they don't need to have an office to do their work anymore. They can do all their meetings on board. They can do their Teams call. We can do corporate interlinks as well. We've done in the past 2 years, we've done so many, private SpeedFusion tunnels into corporate networks so they can reach their corporate content. I mean, massive game changer. Again, it just means that we can be connected anywhere at any time at high speeds. And because of the sheer price of it as well, we can suddenly have so many of them for less than half of what we could do with VSAT traditionally. Yeah, massive game changer. I mean, it obviously means that a lot of the eggs are put in the same basket as well, which means we always keep contingencies, right? So we still keep VSATs alive, we still keep cellular alive. So just because something new and fancy came along doesn't mean we're discarding the old solutions. It just means that we now have even more ways of getting online and more redundancies.
So I suppose this is where Peplink fits in really, really nicely, and that it's future-proof as a package as well. You can put whatever game-changing technology comes out in the future, Peplink is already there, ready to make use of it.
That's right. I mean, it just means that we have that flexibility. So when OneWeb comes out, when Kuiper comes out, whatever comes next, we're not limited by that at all. We just welcome changes, all the time. It's something new comes out. Well, another main port. Here we go. and it's just super easy to add onto it and tag onto it, and obviously with the continued refinement of SpeedFusion, we just keep on being able to make these connections work better and better and better as time.
The maritime space isn't something I'm very familiar with, but I think, Joey, you've done quite a bit with maritime, haven't you?
Yes, and all of those devices that Nik mentions as well, we see being used in the maritime as well, especially on super yachts. But maritime is bigger, and we see now that the integration of Starlink, but still using 4G, 5G as a backup or additional bands. We've seen the combination being used way more often now compared to the traditional VSAT. But still, people, especially commercial vessels, still need that redundancy in many ways. And also opting for VSAT as well, still, because it's getting a bit more cheaper from my understanding. So it's really, really nice addition to this. Yeah.
Absolutely, and a lot of providers as well has been struggling, which means they're being forced to change the way that they can do their plans. We can do daily VSAT plans now. We can do so many things in a very flexible way because they've had to change because the market has been blown up completely by Starlink, right? So it's a welcoming change, and it's something that the VSAT industry and the satellite space have been needing for a long time.
The Mini as well, you use the SIM Injector Mini. That one is also being used for the SIM cards to the domes, right?
That's right. We use SIM Injector Minis, especially the new Mini. I mean, we obviously traditionally use the normal SIM Injector, but the new Mini, because it's PoE powered, we can power it from our SDX Pro. We can power it from a PoE injector. Basically, we can place it anywhere on the boat as well. So it's quite often, if it's a sailing boat, for example, we don't have, a nice tidy rack space somewhere. We can't just access easily. So it'll be behind a cupboard or in a guest area or something else. So the SIM injector, we can certainly just have pop out on the desk of the captain's office, for example, for putting in SIM cards, or we can put it in a very convenient place. So again, these technologies are stuff that it just makes it so much easier to deploy that no other product can do for us.
Yeah, that's great.
But I mean, to be honest, we've been using Synergy mode as a whole. We've been using for so many different things. We've with companies who's sold like an MBX Mini or on HD2 or whatever, and it's not quite the right fit for purpose, or we can't pull long cables or whatever. We use like again an SDX Pro or 580 down in the bottom of the vessel, and then at the top of the boat in the sun deck we place the BR2 Pro or an MBX or whatever, and then we run that in Synergy mode all through the internal infrastructure of the boat through VLANs through internal switches, which again something we can't do with other products, and it's just so easy, and it gives us that flexibility to add products of all sorts of types, to the mix.
Great. All right. So let's start with some exciting news. I think just before we start recording this episode, 8.5.1 RC2 has been released by the Peplink team on the forum. Guys, I think we all like to do a little bit of a firmware bingo. Nik, do you have anything this release candidate or a beta firmware that you were like, I worked on that one?
Probably. Most of it is actually bugs, not so much feature requests. But yeah, we've had a couple of bugs that will be ironed out hopefully. But some of the things that I'm quite eager about is the fallback on APN modes when set to auto. I think that's quite a good one for us.
That sounds quite good for your space anyway, when you've set something to a APN and oops, I need to go back now.
Yes, we have that numerous times, where we get recommended by someone, oh, you need to try this APN, and it's like, oh, it doesn't actually work. And then, it can then fall back to to one that does work. So yeah, that's a massively helpful feature for us because most of what we do is remote anyway. So that's a big one, yeah.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, I think, Adam, did you write one down as well?
Well, I'll be honest, this isn't one for me. I've read through this release note before, and you know that you and I really started this podcast up because we love talking about release notes, which is really sad, but at the same time, really quite cool. This one here I thought is rather interesting and shows how people are using their Peplink devices. And this is when you now disable the cellular WAN on your router, it automatically puts your router into airplane mode. I've always taken a Peplink device on trains with me because I think their internet's not very good. And it's interesting, the progression there is now to take it onto a plane with you. And before, you couldn't use your Peplink device and set up your little hotspot network. But now you can. And I'll be honest, I've done this on my phone numerous times. I'll pay for the Wi-Fi on the plane and I'll share it amongst the family so they can all connect and hotspot off me. But now I can just take my little Peplink device, disable the cellular WAN, connect to the Wi-Fi WAN, and I can give the whole plane Wi-Fi if I want to.
Yeah. Wi-Fi WAN to Wi-Fi AP. Nice.
So I'd be really interested to know who is actually using it on a plane and why Peplink have had to come out with this release, because there must be some interesting use cases that are out there already. But that's I think that's quite an exciting one for me.
I mean, I suppose it could also be used in spaces where you're not allowed to use cellular devices, military bases or something else where you can only use Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a reason for it, right?
But really interesting feature that I've spotted there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the GPS will also be disabled then. Most devices have the GPS on the cellular module as well, right? Or is that only with the 4G versions, not with the 5G anymore?
I don't know if I'll worry about the GPS working while I'm on a plane. I'm hoping the plane's GPS is going to be working just right. But
Yes, you'd hope so.
come on, Joey, I've seen you've made a list of ones you want to talk about. You're just being polite and letting us talk first.
Yes, I am. So the one that I specifically requested, or actually talking over with Gideus as well, about testing the SpeedFusion tunnel as well, but also the WAN analysis. You can now, and I already tested it, and I already showed you guys as well that I hit my fair use policy on my SIM card, testing it out. No, you can now test up to 3,600 seconds duration, and
Crazy.
you can even set it on a 1 minute interval. That's about, yeah, that's a lot of testing.
That's a lot of data. Yeah.
It's very good if you want to do that extended test, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it will change over time. The test that you do in those first 20 seconds doesn't really show what it's going to be like over an hour or a longer period of time. So it's nice to get those samples and to really get some good information from the test.
Yes. Yeah, it gives you an idea of what is possible over a long period of time, what customers could do, what is there. So if you do a proof of concept or if you're doing an install like Nik is doing, you can test that for an hour and see how that goes. And you can see, for example, the Starlinks, you can see how they perform switching those over an hour. So it's really interesting. And I feel like that gives a really good feeling of how a setup could work in the field.
Come on then, what's your next one, Joey?
Added support for grouping networks by domain names for use in firewall and outbound policies. So I had to look this one up.
Is this one of yours as well?
No. No.
Okay.
No, I had to look this one up because I was like, whoa, that's going to be interesting. And I had a chat with Steve, like, where can we use this and what can we do with it? It's a really nice one. And actually, it's a pretty specific one because you can add in your web admin, you can add group networks add it to a VLAN, for example. And then you can group that and you can add a domain to that as well. So you can use it internally if you need to have some domain resolving going on inside your network. Or you can use this really small chance that you can use this as I can restrict YouTube on that. I need to double check, but I think that's a bit how it goes.
Well, it helps us with a lot of these filtering of outgoing policies, right? Because we manage our VLANs quite strict, on the boats. When we got crew on board, we not only do QoS in terms of bandwidth control, but also where traffic can go. And obviously, sometimes we want to group things as well. So this is probably derived out of some of the requests we've been pushing for a long time, which is just further refinement and easier grouping, because on a 150-meter yacht with 600-700 devices on board, we need easier management for things that come in and out, and we need to group things. We'll have 25, 30 VLANs, all sorts of different types, and some networks we want to manage in certain ways. So this is going to help us with that immensely, and also obviously for cruise ships, commercial ships, ferries, and so on, it'll be the same.
Yeah, it's like Peplink again. stepping up.
Well, they're
Hats
listening
off
to
to
the
the
feedback we
engineers.
provide, and they understand the feature request we're putting through. And it's not just, oh, we want to have this feature because it'll be nice. No, it's actually useful and it'll make, it'll have value add to our clients and our customers. And it'll even though we have loads of bandwidth with Starlink, we still need to manage it. We do a lot of quality of service work on our client vessels, whether it's limitations or outgoing policies, or even just QoS stuff. Voice come off first. Certain networks have priority over all the traffic they go through. So yeah, it's a big difference.
And I see here, Nick, you've got one about GPS as well.
Yeah, I mean GPS is an important one for us, and one of the feature requests we've been working on for a while is having the ability to select where a device gets GPS from. I'll give you an example, like the vessel I'm on right now. We have 3 Starlinks, 2 HD-1 DOMs, and lots of other ways. So we basically got 5 ways of getting a GPS location. So actually we got 7 ways, because we have a UDP and a TCP data stream on the boat as well, which is coming from navigation systems. So we got 7 ways of getting GPS, but we have no way of actually prioritizing that and which one is the most important one. And sometimes we'll have issues where, if we use Starlink or HD1 Dome, it might think it's somewhere else, and then we get the NTP and the time zones wrong. So a lot of things plays into our space for that, but it also means we can get an accurate GPS from a navigation system, which is obviously better than what you'll find in a Peplink product or in Starlink. So we'll get, down to centimeters rather than meters of accuracy.
Really interesting. That's good.
Nice.
So we use
That's
quite
good.
often, we use these GPSs to then track vessels, track tenders, so smaller boats. So bigger boats will have, smaller boats to take people ashore and other places. And we put Peplink devices on there as well, not only for internet, Starlink, but also for tracking them and monitoring where vessels are.
Cool. All right. Well, that's also nice. And also a nice feature that, referring back to the last episode, is with the icons, you can now change those icons. I'm wondering if do you put a picture of the tender then there or anything? Do you change that?
We do for some clients. We upload custom photos and we put little little things on if they ask for it. And some of the boats we get like little icons of the actual boat as well that we put on. And
Oh, cool. Nice.
just,
Cool. Great.
but that's not a new feature. It's been around for a while, hasn't it? I mean, we've been able to do custom
Yeah.
icons for quite a while now in Control. So
Yeah. For this episode's tips and tricks by Adam and Joey. Adam, what do we have?
I wanted to talk about FusionHub and the different versions of FusionHub. FusionHub Solo. FusionHub Solo is a free license that you can get per Peplink device, and you can download a license key from InControl and install it as a virtual machine in places like Amazon Web Services, Vultr. You can even install it on your own virtual machine as well. There's no limit. It comes as a virtual machine image you can install. And that allows you to connect one device at a time to that Fusion Hub. But
Yes.
if your device also has Prime Care, you can then connect an additional device to an existing Fusion Hub, and you can connect as many devices as you like as Prime Care licenses you have across those
Correct.
Peplink devices. Is that right?
Yes, you can add additional Prime Care devices as long as they have a Prime Care subscription active. You can connect that to a Fusion Hub, so not to a hardware endpoint, but to a virtual endpoint like the Fusion Hub. You can pinpoint to that with a Prime Care and not consume any peers.
So this is just Fusion Hub Solo. If I had, say, for example, a B15G at home, and I tried to connect 10 devices that all had Prime Care, that wouldn't work.
No, that doesn't work. It only works to a Fusion Hub as an endpoint.
But there's not just Fusion Hub Solo. There's other Fusion Hub packages as well, aren't they?
Correct. Yes.
Which are they? Remind me.
So you've got a license with 5 peers, which is the essential. Then you got the Fusion Hub Pro, which has 20 license or 20 peers. Sorry. And from there on, you have the FusionHub 100, the FusionHub 500. Even you can go up to FusionHub 4000 with 4000 pairs. So yeah, there's a lot of options there.
So, Nick, in your world in maritime again, is FusionHub quite a key part of your deployment?
Absolutely. We use both privately hosted ones and publicly hosted ones. Most of it is when it's privately hosted, it's usually within a data center for corporate access. Publicly hosted we'll typically use for, routing traffic that we don't care about where it goes. So that'll be, going on Netflix, going on Hulu, going general browsing. That'll be on a public virtual machine somewhere. Typically don't use Amazon or Azure. We always try to go in a private data center. We find that that's a little bit faster. It's going to obviously more expensive, but we found that that's a better experience for what we do. But yeah, we use it all the time. Most of our clients use it. Then obviously some clients also choose to use the Peplink SpeedFusion Connect, which is obviously the same concept, but using their infrastructure. That's being used quite often as well. We can obviously do fixed data plans for that now. We can do unlimited data plans on SpeedFusion Connect now, which is somewhat new in the past. I don't know when we got it introduced, but there was something that we drove like a number of years ago. So we actually got the unlimited SpeedFusion data plans, which was not available before. So basically a monthly or yearly subscription. So you got unlimited data. That was something we drove because a lot of our clients was asking for exactly this because they were venturing around the world and wanted to be able to connect to particular endpoints around the world using the Peplink network. And yeah, so that's another way of how that's born out. But yeah, we use FusionHub Solos and Essentials all the time. Yeah, we host a number of services ourselves as well. We use partners as well, servers through clients, and because of the amazing partner network in Peplink, a lot of us as competitors actually, share servers across each other with clients because we have hosted in different countries, which is awesome.
And for those people that don't know, FusionHub is virtual, so you can't use it as you would a traditional Peplink. You've got one WAN port on there. You can have a LAN port on there, but it's very basic in functionality. You can't have VLANs on there. The routing is very, very different. There's not a lot of things you can really manipulate as far as traffic shaping and things like that, outbound policies, etc. So it's a very basic cut down version of a Peplink.
All right, so on to the next subject, the Peplink news. Always exciting to see if Agent Adam has found some new news or news items. So Adam, what were you up to?
Well, I did full reconnaissance this time, and I had to borrow Nick as well to help. And we infiltrated West Network's Peplink Tech Summit to find out some new exciting things that are going on. Alex was there, gave a really interesting presentation about future devices and things that could be coming out. I think one of the most interesting devices, just because I love extreme configurations, and I love taking Peplink to really crazy levels. And they brought out a new 5000 EC router, and I don't know if you've seen the stats on this, but it's absolutely crazy. I mean, if I give you some ideas, the raw bandwidth on there that it can do is 110 gigabits per second. I mean, just take that in. That is absolutely crazy. It has got 100 gigabit ports on there. We were talking about the switches, how they had the QSFT ports. This has the QSFT 28 ports, and they can support 100 gigabits each. There's two of those ports on this device. The SpeedFusion throughput is 30 gigabits per second.
That is almost 6 times higher than the EPXS.
That is
Absolutely
6 times
crazy.
higher because that's limited to 4 gigabits. Right?
And on top of that, it's an edge compute. So you can put your KVMs on there. You can put your Dockers on there. It's an absolute beast of a machine, this is. And I think it's either has been launched or is about to be launched. We've certainly seen it and we've played with it and we've had our hands over it, and it's a really, really nice bit of kit.
So I'm wondering, I only looked at the data sheet, but can you remove those modules? Is it like the EPX? You can remove those modules?
Well, I did ask for a screwdriver, but nobody had one. They wouldn't let me look inside because I wanted to have a look. There's certainly modules that screw in. and it's definitely a different backplane. It uses different flex modules to the ones that we've used before. But I think it has to, because the bus speed has to be higher to cope with the speeds of those ports that are being plugged in.
Yeah.
But did you manage to get one apart, Nick, to have a look at?
No, I wasn't allowed to. I came with a screwdriver, and people said, no, 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 no. So yeah,
We weren't allowed to.
we weren't allowed to.
But the other thing that we saw there, Joey, and I know that you want to talk about this as well, are the new Max antennas that are coming out.
Yes.
And you've got one there. We also saw a new one as well, which is going to take a slightly bigger device. Yes, the one you've got there will take the BR1 versions, I'm guessing, of the
BR1
Peplink
Pro
devices.
5G, BR1 Mini
And the one-
5G.
We also saw this other one, which was very, very prototype, the one we saw. I mean, it was just a black
Yeah.
plastic box, but we can see where that's going to evolve. But go on, tell us about this new product.
Yeah, so this is the Max antenna. It's this is the top one. So it literally it sits like this. So this is where the antenna is. It has 4 antennas in it, and then the top is there. It comes with all sorts of things like those kind of connectors that you can connect to if the camera will.
Glance, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a 42
Yeah, it's-
mobility.
It is. It is. Actually, I have the 42G mobility here as well, with all the cables.
So the theory behind this is we already know the shorter the cable, the less signal loss that we get. And
Yes.
Nick's perhaps a better expert on this than me. I've seen him do his calculations. It's absolutely amazing. But by making that distance as short as possible, and this is what they did on the HD1 dome and the long-range dome as well, we can increase the signal significantly by having less cable.
Absolutely.
But it also gives you the ability to upgrade it as well. So if a new B1 came out or something you wanted to take advantage of, we can put that back inside the same antenna box.
Yes. Yes. If it matches the same dimensions, because there is holes for it to be mounted specifically for the BR1 Pro 5G, for the BR1 Mini 5G, and the Transit Duo. So the new Transit Pro E is a little bit thicker than the old Transit because of the heatsink on it. But I don't think that's going to fit. I think the space is too limited. But yeah, you could upgrade.
And tell us about the other exciting accessory they're bringing out for it.
Yes, so Peplink might be releasing as well the splitter. I've seen some pictures of it, some early models of it, but they are still finalizing everything. So even from like the pricing to the design, so there's not much yet to tell about it, but they are looking into, and the splitter, there is a place for it already. So you can see here those brackets, those are for a splitter. So either you can 3D print your own casing for your own PoE splitter, and you can run up one cable to the Max antenna. Sorry, yeah.
So this is basically being able to run PoE up to it, and then the PoE would split off into a DC connector you could plug into your Max device.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've done that already with some of the transits we've run over PoE, just breaking out into 12-volt adapter.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Cool.
Very useful.
Yeah. Another thing is that Peplink this week released the lab exercises. So Peplink has been chatting around with us. I don't know if you were included as well, Adam, about the lab exercises for a additional training for people that want to get familiar with the Peplink user interface or in control. They have released the first 5 set of tasks or exercises that you can do with your own device. Have you seen those already?
Only the ones you sent me through the other day.
Those 5,
But
yeah.
presumably, is this an extension to the PCE? Is this a lead into the PCE to the training courses, or is this totally separate from the training courses?
It is practically what else is needed for the PCE. Well, it's not a official, like, you need to pass those things to do the PCE. No, it's an addition to get more familiar with literally doing the stuff. So within the PCE, you're required to have some Peplink knowledge and also get familiar with the web admin to find certain stuff. But those lab exercises really fit well into that perspective of how is the web admin looking, and it really helps you with completing the PCE if you're new to Peplink. And as well for our us veterans already using some time with Peplink, it's also good to freshen up stuff, and also maybe there's new stuff because they are based on the 8.5.0 firmware, so there might be some new stuff as well there.
So where can we get hold of these lab exercises then?
They are in the training portal.
Wow. Do you know, I did some training for the PCA last week. Nik, remind me, where is that training portal on Peplink? How can I find the training portal?
Training.peplink.com, right?
Yes, exactly.
You've got a long trip home, Nik, so you could do it on the plane on the way back. And now you've got that mode on your Peplink where you can turn off the cellular and have airplane mode. You've got a perfect test lab environment.
I suppose I could do that, but it's hard to plug in. Well, I suppose I could plug in my MBX Mini on the plane, but it's quite big to have that sitting on the...
Just ask, is there a power outlet?
Oh, there is, but it's possible. I'm not saying no. I mean, maybe it's something I should be trying on the way.
It'll make a good picture. I don't. Yeah.
People will look funny at you. Yeah.
Adam, I have high hopes for this one. Come on.
The joke. I mean, we were spoken about marriage before. We've spoken about Peplink engineers, but one thing got me thinking the other day. How do trees get online with a Peplink? No, they just log on.
Yeah.
No? Nik, you don't look impressed.
No, not impressed. And my first thoughts would be that they branch out, but
They branch out. No, they log on.
They log on.
They log on. They log on.
How they doing?
We need one of those. Bum.
I don't feel like I'm getting a good score this time, Joey.
No, I think this one. No, I think you did the first one in the first episode was so good. I think you set the bar a little bit too high.
I think you're right.
Okay, I'll rate this one as well. 6 out of 10. Yeah,
I think that's quite generous, but thank you. I'd have rated myself a 3. No, I'm disappointed in myself. I'll work harder for the next one.
Okay. All right. Feature time or feature request highlight. Nik, you are the guest of honor today. Do you have a feature that you want to highlight in this topic?
Yeah, I mean, and like I mentioned, before, we use synergy mode quite often. It's a feature that we've come to love and use every day. It just simplifies things for the end user and obviously for us as well. It means so we can suddenly do things within one web interface. I don't have to log into multiple devices to manage main configurations, and it makes it a breeze. That's probably one of my favorite features. But one thing that people probably don't think too much about is a feature like InTouch. We manage a lot of devices that are not Peplink. We manage a lot of things that we don't want online as well. So InTouch gives us that ability to lock into, things that are on the other side, whether that's a computer through VNC or remote desktop, whether that's through, SSH or HTTP, HTTPS devices on the other side. That makes a big difference for us, and it's a feature that we and our clients and our partners use every single day.
Well, it's something I learnt the other day is that InTouch isn't just for networking devices. You've got out of band management as well. You can have serial adapters plugged in on
Correct.
USB.
That's right. So you can have
on InTouch.
And you can get all sorts of data out of that. We can use that to get serial data out from a GPS device, but also to communicate with things. So we can see like command prompt through that. So if we have like a SCADA system, so like a PLC system to control things, we can remote into that. We have a number of land-based clients that use it for building management systems where they have serial control to those systems that they can log into all sorts of stuff for irrigation plants. Basically, it makes everything an Internet of Things, right? It means that we can suddenly interface to devices that are offline and make everything an IoT device.
Nice feature. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Nice. So Any feature requests on the forum that you want to highlight?
Where to start?
I know there's been a few on the forum, and I know I occasionally get tagged by you as well, saying, "What do you think of this one, Adam?"
Well, I need support, we can't keep on adding these things and then be like, just complete silence. But we post a couple. I think one of my big ones at the moment is I'd love to have the ability to tag a particular van line as being low bandwidth. So for example, like BGAN or VSAT. So a satellite service with a low bandwidth, or could also be, an old ADSL line, or that sort of style that is limited in bandwidth, limited in throughput, that we have a preset amount of rules that, on this line, it doesn't pass Netflix and Facebook and all those kind of things. But instead of setting up a great big long list of things that we can't do, have it as a preset. Because a lot of our clients are using these as a fallback, and sometimes they're unsure if all the right rules are plugged in. And even though we have a spreadsheet of things we normally configure, that will be the kind of feature that makes it easy for our clients to ensure that only the data needed goes over those lines.
I know
Nice.
there was another feature we were talking about on the forum as well, which was about being able to synergize on the LAN side as well as on the WAN side. So being able to pick up, say, the Wi-Fi radio from a HD1 Dome Pro,
That's right.
and then be able to use that as an access point and not just use it as a Wi-Fi WAN. I mean, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about that for a while now. I think almost 2 years it's been on the list of things to push through, and not only HD1 Domes, but BR1 Pros, MBXs, all sorts. And that would mean that, for example, in our case, we could put up one or two HD1 Domes in a mast, say 25, 30 meters up a mast, and instead of it also deploying like a rocket access point or an outdoor access point, we can use those domes instead. So very useful feature for us. Absolutely.
Yep.
But if you like any of these, search on the forum, you'll find them. Put a comment, put a like, put a plus. It helps Nick and I out and everyone else in the community.
Yeah, we put a link down in the description to those requests. Or we add a comment to it. Yep.
And I
Nice.
think one of the new features that I haven't posted yet, but it's in my draft, is the ability to select what GPS it's being used, right? So like I mentioned before, we sometimes have the ability for 7 different GPS inputs for balanced device, but we don't actually know which one it's using, and sometimes it's causing a bit of grief and confusion. So having the ability to select which GPS is actually being used, not only for time server and time and NTP, but also in general which one is being used, so we can choose the most accurate one. I mean, that would be a great one for us, especially now, again, with the introduction of styling and synergy mode. We now get all these abilities to get a GPS into a device, but no way of actually managing it.
Yep. And also failover to one another.
That's right.
And
That's
know
right.
when you fail over. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Looking forward to that one.
Podcast.
All right. I think that's it for today. Guys, thank you so much, Nick. A huge thank you to you as well. And if you want to be a guest like Nick on the show, let us know. Let us know. And if you have any features that you want to highlight that you posted on the forum, let us know in the comments down below. And yeah, Nick, good luck. Good luck on your journey. And it was a pleasure talking to you again.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
It was a pleasure to be on the show, and it was great chatting with you guys about Peplink and what we can and what we want to do and all the exciting new things that's coming.
Great. Adam?
Obviously, if you've got any ideas for a joke, I really need help for the next episode. And with that, thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on episode 4 of the Peplink podcast. Thank you, guys.